Today we're going to be doing Module 2, Lesson 13. The objective is to round 2 and 3-digit numbers to the nearest 10 on the vertical number line. The materials you need for today are your online whiteboard or your whiteboard dry erase marker and dry eraser. We will be using the whiteboard pretty quickly here in the Fluency coming up, so please make sure you have that ready or you have the online whiteboard pulled up so that you can show your answers quickly. We are going to continue to follow the teaching style where I do it, we do it together, and then you do it on your own. First, we're going to start with our fluency. This is what I was saying that we're going to use our whiteboards for. Okay, this is going to count as your participation points for today. You are going to rename the tens. So I'm going to start with an example. If I asked you to write 9 tens, that would be like 9 groups of 10. Okay, so that would be like skip counting by tens 9 times. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. So that gives us 90. Another way we might know how to do this is from just writing 9 tens, which means we put a 9 in the tens place, and then we have nothing in the ones place, and that would be 9 tens. Okay? So now I'm going to have you do an example for me. Write 7 tens. So on your whiteboard, you're going to write the answer for what 7 tens is and hold that up. We're going to do this as quickly as possible. Our goal with our fluency is to be able to do these facts quickly. So write that and hold it up right away. So 7 tens, we would write a 7 in the tens place. And a 0 in the ones place. 7 tens, which is 70. Okay, now you're going to write 14 tens. Erase your whiteboard and write 14 tens. What number would that be? Now this one's a little more complicated, okay? We can still follow the pattern that we've been following, which is writing our number like it's in the tens place, and a 0 for the ones place, 140. The reason why this works, because this is only the tens place, so this one kind of spills over into the hundreds. Well, if you think about it this way, if we had 14 10 sticks, we would trade 10 sticks in for 100 block, okay? If you remember using base 10 blocks before. So that's how we get our 100, and then we have 4 tens left over and 0 ones. So 14 tens is 140. Now go ahead and write 27 tens. Make sure you're holding it up. So 27 tens. Got our 27 and 0 ones. So we have our 7 in the tens place, and we realize that 2 carries over to the hundreds place. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing, and this is going to be really crucial to the lesson coming up, is finding halfway on a number line. So this time our number line is going up and down. What is halfway between 3 tens and 4 tens? So I'm going to show you how we're going to do it, and then I'm going to have you do a few for me. So I'm going to start at the bottom, which is the lower numbers, and I'm going to start with 3 tens. So I know 3 tens is 30 because I have a 3 in the tens place and I have no ones. 4 tens is going to go at the top here. I have a 4 in the tens place and I have no ones. So I have 30 and 40. I need to find what's halfway in between. Okay? Well, we know if you count between 30 and 40, we'd have 31, 32, 33, 34, right here on this halfway mark, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and then we get to 40. Okay, if you remember when we were doing number lines for time, we always had these 4 hash marks in between, okay? And that's because when we get to the 5th one, it's already got a line. So our halfway point between 30 and 40 is 35. And you'll notice here in the ones place is a 5. And for the examples we're going to be using, you're always going to have a 5 for the ones place for your halfway point. Okay? So we keep the same number in the tens place, and we have a 5 in the ones place. Okay, now you do not have to draw this on your whiteboard, but I just want you to write the number that is the halfway point. If you want to draw it and that makes it easier for you, you can. We're doing between 50 and 60. So your bottom number is 50, your top number is 60, and I want you to tell me what this halfway point is. And hold it up when you have it ready. Okay, so remember when I told you when we're finding the halfway point, it's always going to end in a 5. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 5 in the ones place. And whatever number is on the bottom here in the tens, I'm going to keep that number. So it's a 5, so I'm going to keep that 5. So halfway between 50 and 60 is 55. And if I wanted to count that out on my number line, I could to check my work. 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. Next, I want you to find halfway between 830 and 840. So 830 is going to be your number on bottom. 840 is your number on top. And I want you to find this halfway point. Write it on your whiteboard and hold it up. Remember, these are counting for participation credit on your rewards. Okay, So this one was a little more tricky, but remember I said we're going to end in a 5 in the ones place. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the ones place. Now whatever number is in the tens, we're going to keep. And actually, this is like having 83 tens. So we're going to keep the 83. It's just like having 83 tens, and we put a 5 in our ones place to show halfway. So halfway between 830 and 840 is 835, and I can check my work. 830, 831, 832, 833, 834, 835, 836, 837, 838, 839, 840. Okay? All right, last one to get participation credit on. I want you to find the number halfway between 560 and 570. Hopefully this is getting pretty easier for you now. Okay, so same as before, we'll keep our 5 in the ones place. This is like having 56 tens. We're going to keep that 56 tens. So halfway between 560 and 570 is 565. Okay, so you can go ahead and set your whiteboard down for a minute, and I'm going to show you what we're going to be doing. We're going to round 2-digit measurements to the nearest 10. So for this one, I'm going to round 28 minutes to the nearest 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do, make sure you're watching, is I'm going to start with my vertical number line that we've had on the last few pages. I need a bottom number, a top number, and a halfway point. Now, to round 28 minutes, I have to go down to the nearest 10 and up to the nearest 10. So first I'm going to go down. I look in the tens place and I have a 2. So I'm going to keep the 2 and put a 0 in the ones place. Now to go up to the next highest 10, I think to myself, what comes after 2? And that would be 3. And I keep a 0 in the ones place. Okay, so I'm going between 20 and 30 because 28 is between those two tens. Now I just need to find my halfway point. That's what we've been doing. So I'm just going to keep a 5 in the ones place, and I have 2 in the tens place, and I'm going to keep that. Okay, so here's my number line. Well, now what I need to do is I need to figure out where 28 goes on my number line, and then figure out what it's closest to, 30 or 20. Okay, so I can think to myself 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So I'm going to label that 28. Maybe 29, 30. Okay, so 28, I'm going to plot a point. So remember, plotting a point is drawing a dot on the number line where 28 is. So is 28 closer to 20 or to 30? I can see 28 is closer to 30. So if I round 28 minutes to the nearest tens, so 28 minutes, and this is how we write the rounding symbol. It just looks like a squiggly equal sign. So rounds to 30 minutes. Okay. So 28 rounded to the nearest tens is 30. Okay, now I'm going to have you pick up your whiteboard and I'm going to have you do one with me. We're going to round 32 minutes to the nearest 10 minutes. So first I want you to draw your number line. Okay, which is just a line with the arrow at the top and an arrow at the bottom. You need a line at the bottom, a line at the top, and a line halfway. Now we're rounding 32 minutes to the nearest 10 minutes. So I'm going to look in the tens place and we have a 3. So for my bottom number, I'm going to keep the 3 and put a 0 in the ones place. Make sure you're doing this on your whiteboard with me. It's the best way to learn the material for when you get to your homework later. Now for the top number, we're going to go up 110. So what's one more than 3? And that's 4. Keep a 0 in the ones place. So we're rounding 32 to the nearest 10. So we know 32 is between 30 and 40. First, we're going to find our halfway point. You should know the halfway point, so go ahead and label that on yours. Okay, remember halfway point ends in a 5 and we keep the same 10, so we keep the 3. Our halfway point is 35. Now we need to figure out where 32 is at on our number line. Well, let's start at 30, 31, 32. I'm going to label that. 33, 34, 35. So I'm going to plot a point at 32. So I'm going to draw a dot right on the line where 32 goes. And that just makes it a little bit easier for us to visualize. Now I want you to go ahead and hold up with your fingers. Do you think that 32 is closer to 3 tens, which is 30, or 4 tens, which is 40? Go ahead and hold up your fingers. Is 32 closer to 30 or 40? "32 is closer to 30. So the way we would write that for our answer, 32 minutes rounds to, so our swirly equal sign, 30 minutes. So 32 rounds to 30 because it's closer to 30 if we're rounding to the nearest tens place. Okay, you can go ahead and put down your whiteboards again for a minute and watch. I'm going to show you another example. This time we have a 3-digit number and we're going to round it to the nearest tens place again. So we're still rounding to the nearest tens place, but this time we have a 3-digit number instead of a 2-digit number. I'm going to start the same way, so make sure you're watching. I have my vertical number line, a bottom number, a top number, and a middle number, which is my halfway point. My number is 117, so I'm going to look at the tens place, and I have a 1 there. I'm going to keep the 100, so this is like having 11 tens. So I'm going to keep 11 tens, and then have my 0 for the ones place. Now I just think, what is 1 more than 11? And that would be 12. So my top number will be 12 tens with a 0 in the ones place. So I know 117 is between 110 and 120. To find my halfway point, I do the same thing we've been doing, a 5 in the ones place, and then I keep what I have in the tens, which is 11 tens. So my halfway point is 115. Now all I need to do is figure out where 117 is on the vertical number line. So what I'm going to do, I'm at 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, which is my halfway, 116, 117, I'm going to label that, 118, 119, 120. So I'm plotting a point here at my 117. And now I can look. Is 117 closer to 120 or 110? Well, it's clearly closer to 117 because it's past my halfway point. As long as the number is past the halfway point, it goes to this top number. If our number is on the number line below the halfway point, we round it to the bottom number, okay? So 117 milliliters rounds to 120 milliliters. So 117 rounds to 120 when we're rounding to the nearest tens place. Okay, go ahead and grab your whiteboards out again. And you are going to round a 3-digit measurement to the nearest tens place. You're going to start with your vertical number line. With a bottom number, a top number, and a halfway point. If you know what numbers to label it with, you can do that and hold it up to show me that you know that. So we're rounding 162 to the nearest tens place. So first, for the bottom number, I look at the tens. I have 16 tens. So I'm going to write 16 with my 0 in the ones place. For the top number, we need one more than that. One more than 16 is 17 with a 0 in the ones place. So 162 is somewhere in between 160 and 170. Next, we have our halfway point. You should be writing this if you don't have it already. 5 in the ones place, and we keep the same number that's in the tens place, which is 16. So we have 165 as our halfway point. Now we just need to figure out where 162 is at. So let's start at 160, 161, 162, label it. 163, 164. So plot a point right there at 162. On your whiteboard, I want you to circle the number that 162 rounds to. What number is it closest to? Is it closest to 160 or 170? Go ahead and circle that on your whiteboard and then hold it up. Okay, you should have circled 160 because 162 has not gotten to the halfway point yet. If we are below the halfway point, we go down to the bottom number. So 162 milliliters rounds to 160 milliliters. Okay. Now, for your homework, you may need to know this. What happens if our halfway point is, or if our number is right on the halfway point? What would we round 165 to? Well, the rule is if it's below, if it's any of these numbers, then we go down to the nearest 10. Once we hit our halfway point, any number halfway or up or above goes to this top number. So if your number falls right on the halfway point, you round up. Okay? How I like to think of it is if I'm holding a balloon. Okay? If I have 165 in the ones place, okay, right? 160, 161, 162, 163, 160. Oh, I counted wrong. I forgot to put my thumb up. Okay, 161, 162, 163, 164, 165. If I were holding that balloon and I got to 165, I would have let go. That balloon would have flown up. Okay? So once we get to the 5 and the 1's place, everything rounds up. Okay, if that balloon thing kind of helps you. If I'm holding a balloon and I get to 161, 162, I'm still holding the balloon. I still have some fingers holding it. And so we round down because the balloon is still down with us. Okay, that's just a little bit of a visual helper. Okay, so now you're at the point we're going to be working on your homework alone. It is a Kami assignment, okay? You'll see they have the vertical number lines written just like we've been doing the vertical number lines. So you're going to have to find your bottom number and label it, your top number and label it, and your halfway point and label it. And then you can see they did the example for you over here. They were rounding 43 and they already labeled it on the number line. You do need to make sure that you are actually drawing out the number line and not just putting the answer. So once you draw the number line, then you figure out, is it closest to the bottom number or the top number? And then that's what your answer is going to be here. Okay? Go ahead and begin. Make sure you ask if you have any questions while I'm here to help.